Welcome to this explainer of Scythe. If you've been staring at that massive, gorgeous board full of wooden meeples, plastic mechs, and dials, wondering, how on earth do I even start this thing? Well, you are in the exact right place. Today we're diving into an in-depth how-to-play guide specifically designed for beginners. We're going to demystify exactly how to build your diesel punk empire from the absolute ground up, taking you from a total novice to a formidable faction leader.
We're stepping into an alternate 1920s where rustic agriculture crashes headfirst into mechanized warfare. The Great War might technically be over, but its effects, they still linger over every single farm and forest. Now, your ultimate goal here isn't just mindless conquest. It's actually to amass the most wealth and guide your faction to victory before you're just left in the dusts of Eastern Europa.
So here's our blueprint for tackling Eastern Europa today. We'll start with setting up your faction, followed by mastering your actions, then we'll get into movement, mechs, and combat, and finally, the race to victory.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Setting Up Your Faction, Humble Beginnings.
Setup is actually surprisingly straightforward for a game this size. You'll just lay out the board and shuffle your combat, encounter, objective, and factory decks onto their designated spots. Then you're going to grab your unique faction mat and a randomly assigned player mat. And this combination right here, it's what makes every single game completely unique, which is absolutely fantastic for replayability. You'll place your starting coins, combat cards, and objectives just like your specific mats tell you to. Finally, find your faction's matching home base on the edge of the board, plop your special character figure there, and put one worker on each of the 2 adjacent land territories. Boom, you're ready to roll.
Moving right along to Section 2, Mastering Your Actions, Building the Engine. Okay, so the entire core of Scythe is driven by action selection on your player mat. Think of this mat as the control panel for your growing empire. Notice how your choices are conceptually chunked here. On your turn, you just take your action token and place it on one of the 4 sections of your mat. Oh, and you can't pick the exact same section twice in a row, so keep that in mind. Essentially, you pay a red cost to gain a green benefit. You can do the top action, the bottom action, neither or both. And if you do decide to do both, you just always resolve the top row first and then move to the bottom row.
You'll be constantly using these top row actions to interact directly with the map. If you choose to produce, your workers actually generate resources right there on the board. So mountains yield metal, farms yield food, forests give you wood, tundras provide oil, and villages, well, they actually produce more workers. If you trade, you just pay a coin to gain either 2 resources or to boost your popularity. If you bolster, you pay a coin to pump up your power on the track or to draw secret combat cards. And finally, the move action lets you reposition your units across the board or, just gain some quick coins if you need them.
Now these bottom row actions, these are the actual gears of your engine, and they require the resources those workers of yours just produced. Upgrade costs oil and lets you move a technology cube to permanently reduce an action's cost while simultaneously increasing another action's benefit, a total game changer. Deploy costs metal and unleashes one of your 4 massive mechs onto the board, which unlocks special faction abilities. Build costs wood, allowing you to place structures like mines or mills for ongoing territorial advantages. And lastly, enlist costs food to place a recruit. This unlocks ongoing bonuses whenever you, or, get this, the players sitting directly next to you, take that specific bottom row action.
Let's push forward into Section 3, Movement, Mechs, and Combat, Expanding Your Borders.
All right, once your engine is happily humming along and you've produced a good stash of resources, it is time to spread your forces across Eastern Europa to seize those resources and lock down more territory. Movement in Scythe is highly tactical. A standard move action lets you move up to 2 different units, 1 space each. Now early on, your units are stuck. They cannot cross rivers. But once you deploy mechs and unlock abilities like Riverwalk, the whole map opens up for you. Your towering mechs act as armored transports. They can literally pick up your vulnerable combat-averse workers and carry them, plus any resources, right into new territories. But a quick word of warning. If your mech or character moves into a space containing enemy mechs or characters, your movement stops instantly. So, let's talk about how this all builds into actual combat. First off, workers cannot initiate combat. If you move into a space with enemy workers, they just flee right back to their home base, leaving all their resources behind for you to take. But watch out, because your popularity will drop. Turns out, bullying civilians is generally frowned upon. So if the workers are just fleeing from conflict, how exactly do we resolve a clash between these massive diesel-powered mechs?
Combat here is this thrilling, secret bidding war. There are absolutely no dice involved. Instead, you and your opponent each tick a combat dial and secretly select a number. You can commit up to 7 power depending on where you currently sit on the power track. Then, for every mech or character you have in that specific battle, you can secretly tuck 1 combat card behind the dial to add its value to your total. Then you reveal simultaneously. The highest total wins, claiming the territory and the resources. The loser has to retreat all their units back to their home base. It is a brilliant game of bluffing and resource management just as much as it is about raw military might.
And all of this brilliantly illustrates just how important your single character piece is. Sure, mechs are great for fighting, but only your character can trigger the encounter tokens scattered across the map. When your character lands on one, you draw an encounter card, which gives you these fantastic, thematic, story-driven choices that yield massive one-time benefits. On top of that, if your character manages to reach the central factory territory, you get to secretly choose a factory card. This card sits right next to your player mat, effectively giving you a highly efficient, completely unique 5th action column for the rest of the game.
And that brings us to Section 4, the race to victory, placing your stars.
Every single move you make and resource you harvest is building toward a sudden, dramatic climax. You start the game with 6 star tokens, and placing them on the board is how you track your macro-level progress. But notice the variety of ways you can do this. You can place a star for completing all 6 upgrades, or deploying all 4 mechs, or building all 4 structures. You get a star for maxing out your workers, hitting maximum popularity, or winning up to 2 combats. You can even earn one by completing a secret objective card. The beautiful part? You physically cannot do everything. You have to craft a unique narrative of success for your specific faction, specializing in just a few of these areas so you can rapidly place your stars.
And the tension here is just palpable, because Scythe is, at its very core, a race. The absolute second a player achieves and places their 6th star, all gameplay halts immediately. There are no final rounds, no let's make sure everyone gets an equal number of turns. Nope, you drop everything, the board freezes exactly as it is, and you move straight into calculating your final wealth.
Now, here is the absolutely crucial point. Placing your 6th star ends the game, but it does not automatically mean you win. The winner is simply the player with the most coins. And your ultimate wealth, it is heavily multiplied by your popularity. When scoring, you gain coins for every star you placed, every territory you control, and every 2 resources you own. But those payouts are directly tied to 3 popularity tiers. If you're stuck in the bottom tier, each star is only worth 3 coins. But if you've made it to the highest tier, each star is worth 5 coins. Basically, being loved by the people of Eastern Europa makes your land, your stars, and your resources drastically more valuable.
Balancing your economic engine, your military expansion, and your public popularity, that is the true puzzle of this game. So now that you hold the blueprint to building your engine, selecting your actions efficiently, and commanding your mechs in combat, the real question is, are you ready to sit down at the table and forge your legacy? Gather your resources, keep a very close eye on your neighbors, and I will see you in Eastern Europa.